bringing you Grassroots Matters interviews with our host, Sally from Grassland Nutrition, and special guests and collaborators on the topic of nutrition, and more. All right, let's dive headfirst into this episode.
We're thrilled to announce our latest podcast interview with Abhaya, founder of Lucky Sheep. Abhaya has made it possible to combine outdoor adventuring with natural fiber products, entirely avoiding synthetics. Learn about Grassland Nutrition's relevance to Lucky Sheep and their exciting upcoming events. Thank you so much for joining, Abhaya. Where are you today? Are you at home?
I am at Lucky Sheep.
You're at Lucky Sheep. Very good.
Yes.
Lucky Sheep is not the same location as your home.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Right.
Lucky Sheep is it's a few miles away. Yeah.
Okay.
I live in the mountains in Western North Carolina, and
Beautiful.
you have to go a little ways before you get to civilization.
Right. Oh, but how blissful and how fitting, really, because that really is your kind of business model, or it's your thing. It's your approach to life, isn't it? Yeah. Off the beaten track. Yeah, a little bit more.
Very much. We are in the foothills of the mountain called Mount Mitchell, and there's rivers and waterfalls and all kinds of things. So we started here, and it's we test our gear in the setting and in real settings and right nearby.
Well, it can't get any more authentic than that, can it, really? So that's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I've never been to the US. It's certainly, I have to. A lot of our customers are based in the US, and I try and I'll go to a map and go, right, okay, North Carolina here, right, Nevada over here. And there's such a huge span. But yeah, it's really, really good to kind of understand. It's such a massive expanse. And have you always lived in that area? Have you always been more akin to kind of the woods and the mountains in terms of terrain?
I was born and raised in the mountains, but I did live like a lot of my life in urban small towns or bigger towns, and so I kind of have like I kind of have city experience, and it's interesting how the blend of different cultures and stuff. Like if you have a business or like a national or international business, you need to know how people think and act and what they talk about and what their conversations are and what they're interested in, stuff like that. So
Sure. Yeah. There's absolutely a certain etiquette. That's right. Yeah. And look, I think I've done that over time. I've lived in a city, London, in the UK, and that has been, not even something that I would question, to get around and do all the things that I want to do, and the socializing and the nightlife, and just really connecting with other people. And then, all of a sudden you're like, it's a bit too hectic. I need to take a step back. I need to be a bit close to nature. And for me, it was the sea. So I'm more of a water kind of person, so I need to be near the sea. But it took me a really long time. I'd moved to these different places, and then it was with partner, with family, and all of us were pretty much the same. It was like, it just doesn't quite feel like home. Moved to Spain, and that was great for a time, and that was nearer the sea. It was like, okay, look, feel like we're getting closer. And so then we ended up in Australia, and we've just kind of followed the coastline further away from the hustle bustle, and I think I've landed now, so yeah, that's kind of cool. So it's good that we found our spots, and you're doing really well with what you're doing there. And I'm really interested in finding out more about how Lucky Sheep has evolved since we became kind of aware of one another. And with Grassland, I believe it was back in kind of the early part of 2023 that you started purchasing our products and came on our kind of radar, which was really great. And then we'd email back and forth, and I found out a little bit more about your goals really and your vision for Lucky Sheep, and how, you know, it had obviously been a bit of a labor of love and you'd been working on it for a little while. I know that you'd mentioned a book in there, and when I last visited your website, it's really it's getting big. Yeah, it's really come on, and you know, it really has a certain style. Can you tell me a little bit more about Lucky Sheep and when it established and how it's grown and what kind of vision you have now for the business?
Yes, certainly. So I think that Lucky Sheep started for like the quest for health and wellness. I was interested in natural fibers. I was also interested in nutrition because I had gotten multiple chemical sensitivities from being exposed to modern day chemicals, which are in our clothing and our bedding and our household furniture and items and things. And so in my quest to kind of like find that perfect life where I had health and I could have a real life, I was, you know, discovering these toxins. And then I ran upon, you know, first off, you know, to get rid of the plastics in your life as much as you can. And then there was one missing link, and that was diet. And so I had been vegan for like 18 years. And then I discovered ancestral diet, or also could call it primal diet or paleo diet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a missing link, because being vegan, I was getting sicker and sicker. And I didn't realize it was because of vegan. But then when I had my first bite of actual like meat and animal fat and raw eggs and dairy and things, like when I just even began, like in the beginning, like I had an immediate, like my brain turned on. I was like, had been in this fog and no energy, no sleep. And all of a sudden that started changing. I started sleeping better, being grounded and energy. And little by little, that just kept going. I stayed with the ancestral diet, and I, you know, got my health back. And then, you know, I was ready to do something.
Yeah, all the neurons were firing once again, and you could be creative. Yeah, not just getting through the basics. Yeah, that's really fascinating. How long has it been? So you were vegan for a really long time. Yeah, how long have you been following more of an ancestral based diet?
It's been about 20 years.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Let's examine the kind of nutrition a little bit then. What does your, you know, regular kind of diet look like?
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm gonna say that it's constantly evolving, and that I have some principles that have pretty much stuck since, you know, since I started. But my diet is not always going to be the same as it is now. But you know, it is good to know, you know, what is someone actually doing. And you know, and I also believe that everyone has their own unique, you know, exactly what they do is going to be unique, and then that's going to also change as well.
Sure.
So, but what I normally eat about approximately 3 meals a day, and it is about, you know, I call myself an omnivore now. Like I've been strictly, like almost strictly carnivore, and you know, of course, before that I was vegan. So now I am to a point where I can combine the two. And so what I eat now is like about approximately about, oh, and you know, my weight, you know, your lifestyle, how much exercise,
Sure.
your weight, your age, you know, all of that plays into
Course.
what you do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this isn't at all for everyone what I do. But what I do is I do a half a pound of meat, like about 3 times a day, and also includes quite a bit of fat, like up to like I could say a half a pound of fat, you know, a quarter pound to a half a pound of butter, like butter or coconut oil or animal fat. And then but I also will do some like white rice and some veggies. You know, I'll do coffee, I'll do raw eggs, I do milk, and you know, and I get as fresh from the farm, as unpasteurized as I can at the time, and things like that. So, you know, it's quite a variety. It's like, you know, you got a little bit of the grain, you got the fat, the meat, and the dairy. And I will say that I personally thrive a lot better on either raw or just barely cooked meat.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and look, we do similar here. So, you know, I don't see that as being, you know, that unusual. So that's it's really good. Always fascinating about those nutrition stories, obviously, because that's what we do. And it's all kind of organ based. We use the kelp, obviously, but saturated fat is where we also sit. And you know, eating blocks of butter isn't, you know, clogging your arteries. What are you doing? You know, makes your brain work, right? Makes you, it gives you the energy that you need. Plays into skin health as well. I start my day with once I've had my water, with a coffee. And I don't use cream or milk, or I just put a dollop of butter in there, whiz it up. It's like having, you know, Starbucks latte, and that just does all the right things. So, so yeah, no, full respect. And with regards to the kind of toxins that you were exposed to that had that real adverse effect on your health, kind of where are you up to with that? When you started eradicating anything, you know, you're checking packets and going, well, okay, I don't even know what this stuff is. Out it goes. You know, where are you with that stuff?
Yes, well, that, you know, it ended up, my life started revolving around that whole quest for kind of like minimalism and you know, the perfect indoor environment, the perfect clothes. I mean, at this point, I like, if you saw my house, like I have not only built my own tiny house, but I've also built like almost everything in it, including the, you know, like the furniture, the bedding, the you know, the clothing, the like, you know, like a whole lot of what I use in my life is stuff that I made myself. And the reason why is because, you know, I'm sort of a natural born designer. I just see stuff and I apply, I think, okay, that's not good enough. Like there's nothing that does it the way I want it to do it. And so I go and I like play around with my ideas, and then I come up with something that like it's a little better or different than what's out there.
Fantastic. Oh, and how exciting with the tiny house. How long did that take you to kind of realize what you wanted? Was there a lot more involved?
Oh, you know, it kind of like happened through necessity, because there was no houses available for rent or even to buy that weren't toxic at the time. And so it was kind of just out of survival, like we've got to build our own, you know, and make it work. And then it was like, you know, a process of like, oh my gosh, like the bedding, like you can't have a cotton futon without it being moldy. I mean, I'll say that as kind of a bold statement, but I discovered that because, you know, I had a very, very new cotton futon, and I was sick. I was still not well, even though I was in my new little tiny house many decades ago. And then, you know, we threw it out, and then that night started sleeping better. So you can't always detect mold, you know. And so little by little, it was like my whole life since then has been going towards, materials that can survive in an extremely humid climate and not get moldy and stuff. And so, so then little by little, it was like wool felt or wool, insulation bedding or, things like that. And also as little of anything as possible, because that way you can pick it up and take it outside and air it out on a sunny day. And if it does eventually get moldy, it's not like everything. You can just get rid of one thing and replace it or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So you've learned a lot on this journey, and you've needed to make your own, fashion your own kind of objects. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about Lucky Sheep now, please.
So Lucky Sheep was when I got rid of my camping gear, which was made from synthetic fibers, because it had chemicals. It was off-gassing. And I would go, like in my tent would be smelling of this terrible, gosh, I mean, who knows, we can name some of the chemicals, but even more than we can even, name. And so it was like, I started playing around with wool, making a wool sleeping bag. And then I also made clothing and backpacks out of canvas and lighter cotton. And then I started playing around with beeswax coating to make it water repellent and water resistant and things. This was 8 years ago. And I had lived a couple of years in a teepee. I was sort of testing the entire paleo ancestral lifestyle, like
really
to the core.
Living and breathing it.
Yeah. So, I was getting the grounding, the negative ions from the mist and the air and all of the sun, and not being exposed to the artificial lighting. But it had to be natural fibers, because even if I was eating primal diet and I was sleeping on the ground with a canvas teepee, like if I was eating vegan, it would be out of sync with the seasons, because you need animal fat and protein and there's no way around it. You can't generate the kind of heat that you need without having that. I discovered the hard way. So I was like living the entire lifestyle of the paleo, I called it paleo all the way, all the way. So diet, everything in your life, your lifestyle, your grounding, your lighting, and things like that. And then after having that experience and testing, like, does this really work? Then I was like, I've got to make these into products and get them out there in the world. So that's how that happened.
And were there any kind of restrictions with kind of regulations at all? Did you have a headache with that kind of stuff? Or has it just been, this was definitely your life's calling, because it's been really, really straightforward, really quite easy for you to do? And you've just been pure creative and industrious in order to get your products out to market.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my hero's journey, part of my hero's journey, I mean, it was definitely, it was doing it by the seat of my pants. However, it was very fun. I mean, I just loved everything about like being outdoors on the ground. I was just so fascinated with exquisite sensations of actually being connected to the rhythms of the earth and the moon and the sun, my body. And every little thing, like noticing that when I wear wool, my body works right. Like, it's actually relaxing. And we were missing that. We were missing all of this stuff. So I was continually like fascinated and inspired with my discovery as I discovered, oh my God, they've been like hiding this. No, not really, but like we lost touch with the power of being connected to the earth, the elements in our body. And so I little by little, I was waking up and my, just really deep sleep, like ridiculously deep sleeps that I never, never imagined. And that's where our power comes from, is from our dreams, and being able to, like, kind of be present with our lives and know what the divine is giving us messages and things like that. So it's really, that's how it happened.
Yeah. So you found your resonance, really. Yeah. So
Yeah.
All areas are kind of fully charged, fully optimized. Yeah, I was trying to think that what would you refer to yourself as? Would it be like a circadian kind of product innovator?
Yeah, I love that. Circadian product innovator. That's a pretty good word if you had to put it into some words. Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. There's a lot of people, talking about nutrition. There's not very many people. There's no one doing what I'm doing. So it's unique. I think that it takes a life of dedication to do something well. And so other people have chosen other things. I could have gone into maybe, some nutritional product, but I was like, well, everyone's doing that. Like, no one's doing this. I got to do this. And I think it's a lot, for me, it's more, I didn't even know how many things would come to me. Like, I didn't even know, like, things just would naturally, ideas would kind of download as I was, like, I would try one thing and it would keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's kind of probably the creative process, the way it works for people.
Yeah. And what would you say is your most fulfilling product that you have within your kind of e-commerce kind of online Lucky Sheep shop?
The most revolutionary one is probably the wool sleeping bag, because that just changes everything about your outdoor experience, because your body temperature is going to start regulating itself, and it's going to be grounding you. And that's one of the things that's lacking from modern synthetic outdoor gear, is this ungrounding, and it doesn't allow your heart rate to relax all the way. And because of that, your heart is going to be beating faster, because your body is trying to struggle to keep your temperature regulated. And so the sleeping bag is the thing that's going to, like, really revolutionize your outdoor experience, and connect you with the elements and make you feel more like you're really grounding. I think that, like, when it comes to rain, like, if you wear a plastic rain jacket or thing, poncho or something, then it's also not, it's gonna, like, you're gonna sweat and get too hot. So then, we have a rain jacket now it's a beeswax coated rain jacket. So that's fun. And then, we have backpacks that are also the same material, beeswax coated canvas. And I mean, actually, it's pretty amazing. But I mean, if I told someone that I can go backpacking, I can hike, whatever, the Appalachian Trail or anything. And I mean, anything in a down to 20 degrees or so, not, and I can, and my backpack base weight is about 20 pounds. And I don't have, the only thing that's synthetic in my whole gear is my ground cloth and my tarp, and everything else is like natural fiber with beeswax or something. I mean, they wouldn't even believe me. I mean, it's super revolutionary.
That is quite inconceivable that you've managed to take it as far as that. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And your ideal customer then, obviously, like, I could assume that it's people that do trail hiking, that go on like 3-day hikes, for example. But is it as niche as that? Can you tell me a bit more about your?
Oh no, not at all. That's the most hardcore, but no, it's everything from like even sleeping in your cold cabin to, your backyard. I mean, a lot of our customers just go on like a family outing once a year in the summer or something like that. But they're going all natural. And so, I mean, where the reality is most people don't do actually hardcore trail hiking like that. And that's fine. Like you got to have a starting point. And, but the thing about it is that the outdoor industry has pushed wool completely out of the conversation, and they don't kind of realize that this exists, what we've created, because the reason why is because when you say the word wool to modern backpackers, they don't have any idea that it's light enough and stuff,
Yeah. Well, it creates that much more opportunity for you to share, I guess, what you've experienced when you went, right, enough. I need to change this. There's nowhere else to go. So I'm it. Yeah. And
yes,
you made it happen. And you've combined your kind of hiking kind of products, the essentials, the wool sleeping bag in the kind of epicenter of that. And then you've kind of branched out into, your trail foods as well. So you're really setting people up for whether it's kind of entry level or, the hype, those that go and do trails for a few days, for all of the things, which is wonderful. And I think that's how we came to kind of converge and became aware of one another. And you actually sell the products on Lucky Sheep as well, which is wonderful to see. And I know that you have a particular interest in the organ chunks as well, which can be eaten on the go.
Yeah, I love it because like I guess the mission of Lucky Sheep is kind of to help people like find their perfect health, and it's partly through being on the earth and using the right kind of gear, and then also educating them on the other things that are part of the whole experience. And so if they want to to go paleo and with their camping food, then we have that there available, and it's also a big part of the way that when humans break out of their buildings and their cars and their malls and parking lots, then what's left? It's just you and your body and the great big earth with lots of different conditions like cold and windy and hot, and when it's just you and you're outside of all the buildings and all the vehicles and concrete, I mean, your body needs to work. And so that's where this primal paleo ancestral diet, really, really is noticeable, because you can kind of get away with it when you're indoors and the climate is always just narrow degrees and you don't have to adapt. But when you have to adapt to the environment, I mean, food, circadian rhythms, the lighting, the grounding, everything, the cold, all of that stuff is actually shaping your epigenetics and increasing your mitochondria. And, if you throw a mismatch of diet, you're trying to put your body into an ancestral environment, but your diet isn't ancestral, it's not going to really work. It's going to you're not going to have the nutrients you need to survive and thrive in that environment.
Yeah, 100%. And not only, you need to move, you need to kind of work out, whatever, you also find that stillness that I think, the body just really, really needs. to distill and then to kind of forge ahead as well. So, and that's what I kind of noticed too. What plans do you have coming up for Lucky Sheep? I've seen some red light therapy on there, which I found really fascinating, a little tent, which was awesome. I've never seen anything like that before. Yeah, so I've been snooping around. What else is coming up for you? What's the next 12 months, 2 years kind of looking like?
Well, the next thing is the book that I'm writing. It's almost finished, ready to be published. It's called A Rewilder's Guide to Outdoor Adventure.
Wonderful. I love the title. Fantastic.
So thank you. This book is going to spell out and give people a step-by-step guide for adopting the kind of lifestyle that I've been exploring for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, where to get the resources to do it and things like that. So that's the big thrust of Lucky Sheep, as well as, well, we have a few products like a duffel bag, a fanny pack, a day pack, and an expedition pack. We're going to like put those in stores and get those displays going in, you know, this next year. That's our plan. So
big plans. Awesome. Yeah. It's ongoing, isn't it? It's just evolving all the time, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And you'll probably find like we do, that the community that you build is just really precious. And then they put their feelers out to their people, and it gets bigger and bigger. But you kind of find a niche, and I think you cross like different types of groups of people as well. But I think you all have really similar kind of values, and it's really great. You find your people, and everyone just kind of thrives off one another. It's really special, and that's why this podcast series is really in its early stages. I think you may be my ninth interview. I think of all the people that, you know, I've chatted to, where, you know, the commonality is the product. It's more about how they have come to find their optimal health through, and it is mostly being unwell in one way or another, whether it's environmental factors, whether it's through diet, whether it's not enough sunlight, and or, you know, other issues. So
yeah, I love that. Fantastic. And I think of it as our individual sovereignty, and that it's so important more than ever right now to have that. So that comes in so many ways. I mean, because it comes in like what influences us, what inspires us, what environment we're in, and it comes in so many ways. So it's good. You know, we're getting the toxins out of our body, out of our environment, and we're putting ourselves on the ground. That's our sovereignty. Because what's not our sovereignty is these things in our body making us sick, and then we can't really stand on our own 2 feet.
Yeah, 100%. It's of great concern, but once we've empowered ourselves and done a bit of education and started to eradicate these things, you feel so different so quickly.
Yeah. I wanted to share another thing that we're doing in the next few months. Actually, we'll start in 1 month, is retreats, decode campouts, where Lucky Sheep will be a part of a retreat that will happen every weekend right near the Lucky Sheep headquarters, and I will be teaching people about rewilding.
Fantastic. Great. You need to send me some information about that, and I will share that with the community as well. So available to anybody. Can you give me a quick synopsis of what to expect?
Yes, it will be a weekend of camaraderie and teaching in different aspects of actually being whole and healthy sovereign beings on this planet, and how to how to connect with each other and find solutions to living in a world that is kind of falling apart. And we've got to like keep together and stick together and teach each other how to navigate these times. So it's tools and resources and networking and campfires and hiking and things.
I want to jump on a plane. It sounds absolutely fantastic. Great. And it combines everything that you've done thus far as well. And it just totally goes hand in hand with your survival book as well, which, yeah. When can we expect to see that?
The book is planned to be out in about mid-July.
Right. Oh, not long at all. That's brilliant. Great.
Around the corner.
Yeah, just around the corner. There's so many.
It's been years and years of writing.
Is it? Yeah. So how do you feel? Do you feel relieved? How do you feel about it?
Oh, yeah. I feel so relieved.
I think you'll agree, Abhaya of Lucky Sheep is dedicated to evolving his offering as a lifestyle free from toxins that encompasses all facets of health to truly thrive and harness divine energy. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time.